And again, this is one of those evil necessities. You have to have it. They do get pricey. So we were kind of questioning, do we have excess? Do we have what we're supposed to have? And we started a process at that point, and they were very nice to allow us to have, they sent one of their workers out here that day, Jason, and he spent basically a day walking around with us for a few hours because we wanted to kind of put eyes on so we could see if it's excess or if they're needed and where they're at, and they were definitely needed. So, and it helped us out, and I think it was a good thing. And basically what he goes by is this. And I'm saying it's not very exciting. Yeah, lots of numbers, lots of scribbles. So we're like, okay, we can do better. So this is his list. This is this is the company's list. But what we did is started taking notes, and we were putting together information, and Craig was taking some pictures, and we'll just build an Excel data sheet so we can plug in at this location. This is where you're going to find extinguisher serial number such and such is this type of extinguisher, and also if there's ever an issue or we know we're coming out or it have to be replaced, we can go straight to that, and it just make things a little easier, because right now some that are in the same area, some may be on this side of the sheet, some may be over here, so they could be scattered, and I think there's like 90 some odd extinguishers there. So we'll try to make that and just be and something else to help kind of streamline and make things a little more efficient. So, and then the last thing is since you guys said everything's okay as far as me putting out some notifications, I know we had the snowbird competition coming up, and that'll be the next thing. I'll reach out to the first responders in each side and just ask again. I believe we all determined last year that we're good as far as not requiring any type of emergency services standby or anything like that. And I'll reach out. Is Hector, that's the contact person?
Hector Ramirez.
And I'll reach out to him just to make sure he's good with everything, but we'll put that notification out.
If I can elaborate a little bit on that too, I think it's a good idea to notify those people that this is going on, even though they don't have a standby rescue. So at least if they get the call, they're not confused.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, just notifying them.
You're right to do that, absolutely.
Yeah, because as a first responder, it's always nice to kind of have a heads up, so when you're coming into a situation, you think, oh, there's just whatever, and then you get there and there's like 1,000 people, like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. So it makes a difference to have kind of that. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
And also about your fire extinguishers, I don't know how we ended up with so many, but there's about 20 extinguishers down there in the maintenance shop. And the guy said they're all, that steel jacketing has a shelf life, if you will, or a life expectancy, and I think they were all expired. So he told Justin how to get rid of them, but we're going to get rid of those because that gives a false sense of security that those can be replaced in a hangar and they're out of date. So there's going to be a purchase of some, isn't there? Or do you know? I think Justin and Rob told me they're going to have to purchase a certain amount of space.
There may be some. I will say that day when we walked around with him and he saw some, he was telling us, because I guess he had been here several times, because he knew where a lot of these were, like right off.
Every year.
Yeah, so he said that he thought that somebody had requested to keep those just for training purposes. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, because again, we're learning this for the first time. So, we're seeing this. So, and we felt bad because there's certain information we couldn't provide, and then there's information he could provide, but then he couldn't remember exactly, who it was that he had dealt with and on, or who it was that he had
might have been Brackenberry was wanting that, but I think we're going to get rid of them.
Right.
Because if they're there and somebody thinks they're good and then they replace one that is used. So Justin and Rob, I think, are going to dispose of them. So.
That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ludwig.
Before you go any further, I know Mr. Seymour doesn't show anything on here, but I told him 2 weeks ago at the hot dog stand, I wasn't a big fan of this burning, but I told him the field looks beautiful, so I got to give him a little plug. The grass out there's greener than I've ever seen it. It looks like a golf course.
It does look like a golf course.
I don't know how long it'll last.
Until we have to mow it.
Yeah, now it's going to mow good faster.
I didn't put anything down because I hadn't gotten the information in time for Craig. But we had set, I thought, March 8th as a workshop for Mr. Carlton to come in, or Mr. Scott, Carlton Scott, the state forester, to do the master plan. he is going to be out of town on the 8th and will not be able to be here. And the 18th, I was going to set for us to have a workshop for the master plan.
Forestry.
The forestry. master plan.
So delete the 8th.
Yes. He will be out of town. And
Is he available on the 18th?
he is available on the 18th, and I've told him tentatively 10 a.m. If
The only thing is, again, that's that week of the snowbird.
But they don't start till the 19th, right?
Yeah, but I don't know what they're gonna be moving in here. I mean, it probably, what time were you talking about?
10 in the morning.
Yeah, we'd probably do that, okay.
Is that good for everybody else's
Open on
calendar?
that.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Coon, would you send out calendar invites
Sure.
with that?
The other thing was about the fertilizer to go out after the burn. I called and finally found somebody that would give us 30 tons of 20-5-10, and it would cost for the fertilizer and the spreading $30,000.
Wow.
That's 200 pounds to the acre for 540 acres. I think we don't need to spend $30,000 on that. Mr. Fryers, I told him earlier about it, and he said, well, maybe we'll just do a small section. And I suggested down at the apex where 1129 and 523 in that one small section, because he says there's already a lot of carpet grass there. And if we can get it really established there, the seeds will carry to the other areas.
I
So,
think it might be worth seeing if he goes back and explores, if we could do a little test area, see how good it works.
and I can then come back and look at the map and find out how many acres it is and get a price on that and bring it back.
All right. Sounds like a good idea.
And I did get the first draft of forestry management plan, and I haven't read it all yet. It's pretty intense, because it also goes into the stewardship of it. So, and how to maintain our designation as a tree farm.
All right. Look forward to that workshop. All right. Mr. Coon.
I wanted to talk about the fuel truck. I know you all authorized the sale of that, but, due to laws that we're bound to in terms of selling over, I think it's $5,000, Scott, is that right? We were required to go out and receive bids on the sale. But the fuel truck is a very specialized piece of equipment, and just putting that out in the newspaper, you're not gonna get to the right person. So I'm trying to I still need to do some consultation with Jim or Mr. Commando, but you mentioned the airplane, the Cessna 140 that was put out there for bid, but that was the same kind of way as it was. We only received one bid, which is a guy that lives on the
I
airport.
think the requirement is you go out for bid. I don't know that you can always get 3 bids. I mean, the point, 3 bids is for purchasing.
No, I know. I'm just talking about trying to get the most amount of money
If
that
we
we
put it
can
on
out
freighter plane, there is a section in there
for fuel trucks.
for fuel trucks. And comptroller, I think also,
Yeah,
Controller.
or comptroller.
controller.
Comptroller's the tax people.
Yeah, controller, that's another publication.
Yeah, I think you could advertise it in there, and if you get one interested party, but you run it for maybe 30 days or 20, you have a bid opening, date or whatever, say 2 weeks after, or,
So I would have them mail the bids then to the
yeah, they
airport?
would
or-
bid, and then they'd be open at a certain
Yeah.
time, like 2 o'clock on this date, and you gotta have witnesses in there,
It's advertised for a certain amount of time
you know.
with a bid opening date.
Would that preclude then an actual notice in the local newspaper? Because I just, there's no real, other than a legal requirement, that's not helpful at all. You know, Charlie? No? Okay.
Call me tomorrow, I hope you get squared away on that.
Okay.
And I think, Craig, we can go back to the way we handle the 140, the Cessna 140.
Right.
And look at that process, because I know we've had Jim at that time as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, why don't you do that?
Well, and the other thing I just want to add to that is that after that sale of the 140 was complete, there was another gentleman that said, oh, I didn't know. I would have put a bid on that. And so, again, I just want to make sure we get the most amount of money that we can for that item, so.
Advertisement to the right audience.
I say advertise it in our Facebook, advertise it, put little flyers on our,
We can do that, and you could put it in trailer plane.
bulletin
Yeah.
boards that we've got spread around the airport. I've already notified, I told you about notifying that one friend of mine that
Sure.
might have some resources that
Right.
want it, so.
The other thing you are allowed to do too is set a minimum bid and a bid increment, I believe. So you might say minimum bid opening is $15,000. And then bid increments have to be $100 increments, so that somebody's not, people will try to do 15,054 cents, something.
Right.
But yeah, there's ways around. I mean, I think that's the way we've done it in the past when Maria did it.
I think because it is an aviation type vehicle, we know it can't be on the road, obviously, so we have to take into account that if somebody does buy it, they've got to send some sort of lowboy here or equipment to load it, haul it, et cetera, so.
Well, one of the local fire departments may want it, but I don't know how it would work putting jet fuel on a fire. I don't think that would be very, very good, so.
All right,
I just wanted to recap the caravan that we had here since December. They departed towards the end of February. They had to be within a certain distance of their project area before.
That's an airplane.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's the caravan. Yes,
All right.
yes, sir. But it's not really a lot of helpful information, but I just wanted to point out that since December 11th through about February 20th, Rob and Justin and I had pumped 14,500 gallons into that aircraft. So,
That's a pretty big deal.
something that wasn't really expected to come up that'll definitely be helpful. And, if they ever have a project in the future, they were very happy with our assistance and, services. And I think other airports charge them for storage of their equipment in a hangar or a building, charge them ramp space, charge them for a gallon of fuel. We didn't do any of that. We just charged them for the fuel, and we're happy to have them here, so.
it's a nice bump in our budget on
For sure.
fuel income.
Yeah. I think some of you have all addressed me about the training that I've requested from Safety First. We don't currently have a line item in our budget for training. Rebecca Williams is our accountant who said that would have to be added as like a budget amendment. But in the past, Titan offers a free training program, but it's very simple. It's very primitive. Justin went through it. He has 2 plaques on the wall that show his name, and he completed the training, but he doesn't know how to park an airplane, which is like one of the basic day one line guy things that there are to do. So, I sent in your board packets there an outline of all the subject matter that they have modules, and then within that, several different sections. All in, it's going to be $750 roughly. But, this is Safety First is insurance recognized, and it's just the I guess, the premier program for line guys to go through, so I think it would be good to send all of us through that, including me.
Where is it held at?
Sounds,
It's remote, it's through a
You can do it
computer.
through the-
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
yeah.
Craig and I had talked about this, and I went through what they've provided as far as the modules. There's, I think, what, 8 modules that addresses everything from just an introduction to ground servicing all the way up through aviation security. So I think it's something that our personnel need to have, and it's not that much money.
No.
So, I mean,
Very
he just told us they sold 14,000 gallons of extra Jet A that we didn't anticipate for our budget, so we definitely have the monies there to pay for that training, so.
So how much money was it going to be combined
About 750.
for all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So we need a motion or?
Well, I think we might need a motion for a budget line, I'm sorry, a training line item in our budget. And maybe you can fill that with $750, I guess.
Or maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, might not be a bad idea, 800 maybe.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we add a training line item in our budget amendment, not to exceed $1,500.
all right. Any questions about that? All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, Mr. Van Zandt, I will get you a copy of that for the city, because anything with it, when we amend, we're supposed to notify you guys, so we'll make sure we get that to you. And do you know off the top of your head for this coming year, when is the deadline for our budget and the city's budget to the state? Mid-June?
Well, we're on the
You got it.
federal fiscal year. So, I mean, our budget started 1 October, and now I'm maybe reaching too far back in the memory bank. I think we have to have our budget amendments done by August.
Okay. Seemed like we had always shot for June for the airport to make sure we get our budget to you guys, and then you in turn.
Well, that makes sense, since you've got a couple, you've got to get your budget approved by the council, and the council kind of approves their own budget. But I'll get you a firm date on that.
Yeah, let's get that date pulled together. So Craig and I have already talked about getting with Lori and starting to work on a rough draft for our budget, and then we got to bring that to the board, so we want to give that to them, and then just have it moving forward, so we meet our deadlines on that.
All right.
All right, Craig, you had one more item.
Yeah, just the Florida Aviation Professionals Conference, so it's just more of an FYI. It doesn't cost us anything to actually attend that, but a hotel, I guess, for a couple of nights. But just important things that they go over is Florida aviation in general, using the JSIP program we talked about earlier. That's what Florida DOT uses to keep track of what project, who's paying what, how to submit requests and that kind of thing. So it's sold out for the spring. They only hold it twice a year. So I just tried to hop on it, and I think it's going to be good and useful for all the projects that we have been doing and will do. So
Definitely. Yeah, I mentioned earlier.
yeah, I got in on it. Yeah.
Yeah, we had 17
Definitely.
calls, so be good to have. All right, anything else?
No, sir.
All right, sir. Colonel?
That was for the group, sir. We're good.
All right, very good. Mr. Van Zandt?
Okay, couple updates for you guys. The aerobatic event, the snowbird event, I believe it went on our community calendar today. If it didn't, it's in motion. And thank you, Mr. Fryer, for those corrected dates from whatever was mentioned last night. I guess you were YouTubing the city council meeting. So I did ask the mayor, who agreed, and thank you again, to table city seat 1 and city seat 3 on this board. You can make fun of our website, and I'm working to rectify several issues on there, but the advertisement went out with an error, so I, in good conscience, couldn't let them vote on something I knew wasn't right. And that those seats are advertised to the public, and the airport seems to be the place to be. The Centennial Committee wants to be here. You got unopposed city council members running for reelection and people competing for airport boards. We're doing something right out here if everybody wants to be here, right? So those will come before the board on April 1st. And so you'll know who's going to continue to help you in this effort. I think you guys have done fabulous with 5, maybe just. Anyway, and that's it. And I owe you guys some information, and I've got a list of that. And I had put tomorrow morning on my calendar with the State Guard guys to be with you, unless you need to not come for some reason.
No, I'd love to have you here.
Yeah, I got to spend some time with Mr. Theme in Tallahassee, and he's pretty excited about possibly moving those assets here once he gets them. He was more excited, I guess, to get the money to purchase them. That isn't always a given.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Van Zandt. As far as board comments, the only thing I wanted to mention is Craig and I have been doing a lot of meeting with FAA, FDOT, with projects that are coming up through 2030. And so along with that, I attended the State of the County for Clay County a couple of weeks ago. I want to compliment the mayor for her presentation. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for staying on track. And you were the shining example that everybody should have followed. I don't say that because she's here. I say it as a fact. But there was a lot of information that's shared at that event every year. It's amazing how fast Clay County is growing. I guess one of the things that struck with me was, I think it was either, I don't know if the commissioner that said this or the mayor of Orange Park, but he made the comment, he said, listen, we're growing. And he said, you might as well get used to it and adapt to it, because with growth comes a lot of changes. And he's right. And it was just amazing. I had no idea that Clay County had almost 232,000 people in the county. And so a lot of good information. We heard from the various mayors, but anyway, it was always interesting to attend that with some of the city council people, and just good information all around. That's all I had. Anybody else have any comment?
Just a brief, I guess I'll call it public service announcement for the high school.
Okay.
Keystone Heights High School. Got this from Carly there at the high school. They're looking for some assistance of volunteers from the community to do some mock interviews with 11th, 12th graders on April the 17th. If anybody has any time in their morning available, they're looking for some help with that.
What day was that again?
April 17th.
That's at the high school. Do you have did they set a time frame for that?
I got it right here. 7:45 to 12. Yep.
I did that last year.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh.
It was interesting, to say the least.
Choice of words, yeah.
Well, no, it was,
Oh, you don't mean it sarcastically.
no. You have to understand that they're high school students, and they really don't understand what a formal interview is.
Right.
And
And so
they're learning.
they're learning.
Right.
And so it's a learning process. But I enjoyed it, and I'll do it again. So,
All right, anything else, Mr.
That's it.
Dawson? All right, anyone else?
yes, sir, I have something. I just wanted to add this to my calendar. When I was never told, or I'll take that back, I was told how much I was going to be compensated every month for being on the council or the board. And I was told by Lynn Rutkowski that it was going to be $450 a month. I didn't know. Okay, I thought it was volunteer to begin with. And I didn't pay attention to my checks. And when I got my W-2 this year, I went, gosh, that looks strange amount, because I wasn't looking at my check stub. And we're being paid $412 a month, and you get $50 more according to ordinance 2019-582, which was done, the first reading on the 9th day of September 2019. The second reading was the 7th day of October 2019. And there is no cost of living increase in this ordinance. It's a flat $400 for each board member and $450 for you. Being $412, I'm being overpaid. We're not following the ordinance. I have a check here for $156 that I'm going to submit to Craig for overpayment, and I would like to have a corrected W-2, so when I file my taxes, they are correct. I asked Lori about it, and she said, well, it was just an increase in the budget, and she just divided it out, and that's how she came up with it. There was nothing criminal by it done or anything, but me being the honest person that I am, I found out I cannot accept my check tonight for the fact that it's made out to $412.
All right, so when the ordinance was adopted, the ordinance was fashioned by what the city actually had fashioned early on for their council members. And it was supposed to also include a cost of living.
It does not.
I know ours doesn't. And I don't know, again, that was a city function. So I know that the first year there was not any increase. I think there may have been an increase just one year. There was no increase last year.
I looked from October the 7th of 2019.
I'm not saying a change in the ordinance. I'm saying that there was, as far as here, because we assumed that it was a COLA increase in that, like the cities.
You can't assume it because it's done by ordinance.
Yeah, I understand that. But what I'm saying, so there was just one year that was done. And this year, there was no increase either.
Right.
Our budget.
But we're not following the ordinance as enacted.
So Mr. Van Zandt and I have had a conversation about that, and he's going to go about figuring out what he needs to do, if it's amending the ordinance or whatever needs to happen, but we've had that discussion.
Well, and again, I see it as you have black and white that you have to follow. And it says 400, that's what I want to be paid. I don't want any extra. And I don't think it's right for anybody to be paid more than what the ordinance says. If they want to amend it, then at that time that they amend it, then we accept it.
And that's why we want to have Mr. Van Zandt look into that, find out what the resolution is, and come back to the board with it.
Right. I'll say it this way, Mr. Seamer. I'll come back to my bosses with an ordinance after I staff it through our attorney. And in good Army fashion, it'll have 3 courses of action at a minimum. And nobody here got paid too much on some purposeful thing. We weren't trying to do that. And I say we, nobody was trying to do that. I don't know that every course of action will include everybody writing a check that's been on the board for however long, for $12 a month times whatever. So we will get that sorted out. There's nothing crazy going on. It's just mistakes. I find them every day. The reason that I sent you all that ordinance is I was looking for something totally different, but the airport isn't bifurcated on the shared drive in a way that just logically, oh, airport pay raises or airport ordinances. They're just in there month by month in 2019 and 2020. And so you're just really hunting. So I'll need a little time to do some more of that. And our city attorney will help me straighten it out and make sure it's in plain English going before the city council.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Any other board comments?
I got one. I was one of 5 people watching the YouTube video of the city council meeting. I want to commend all of y'all for buying that parcel of land on the corner. And you said it was China Walk, but it's China Chef. And they all gave each other high fives. I've never seen that at a city council meeting. That was pretty cool. But yeah, that is going to be a wonderful thing. And I don't recall that many accidents happening there, but I've seen plenty of close ones. And then when those semi trucks try to turn out.
My husband had an accident.
Wow, that's going to be a great improvement. And I commend y'all on finally doing that. I've wondered why. And that thing's an eyesore too. And it's, that started out as a Kentucky Fried Chicken when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And
There was actually, it was a 2-story building that was there. I saw it on Facebook that it was,
well, the lady with the Heritage Club Walkers was where the Dunkin' Donuts is. I thought that was Walkers.
Switched over, I believe.
Okay, so back in the beginning, it was on that corner, and then they went over. But anyway, kudos to y'all for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll close that. I just want to say thank you to the mayor for being here, vice mayor for being here. David Welch, thank you for being here. Dave is one of the applicants, as well as Jim Eifert. Jim, thank you for being here tonight. Hope we didn't bore you guys too much. And again, Mr. Bond, thank you. Ms. Lorraine, thank you. And we've completed our agenda, and we will consider ourselves adjourned at 8:31. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Am I taking this or?